How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the summit. I'm your host, Keenan Harris, and I am your insider for the Mountaineers, and I'm also your radio host 3 times a week as we go over this first season for the Vancouver Mountaineers. So before we get into what the Mountaineers are doing today, let me tell you guys a little about myself. I'm going to be with you this entire season, hopefully, for seasons to come. So as I mentioned, my name is Keenan Harris, and I was actually just a film guy for the Toronto Raptors a couple months ago. I got the call once the team expanded to Vancouver, and now here I am. I'm an insider and now a radio host. It's a dream come true. Well, today was the official first practice for the Vancouver Mountaineers, and the team looked not so good. It is our first year in franchise history, so I don't think anybody's expecting us to be great, but even the first practice was kind of iffy. These guys have never played with each other, right? So it's no big deal that the first practice didn't go the way everybody expected. I kind of wanted to break down our roster and kind of give you guys my opinion on the guys we got on it. So let's start off with our starting point guard, Shelvin Mack. Now, last year for the Utah Jazz, at least for the second half of the season, Shelvin Mack was pretty good. Dante Exum went down very early in the season, or actually missed the entire season, and Shelvin Mack actually played pretty solid. And I was surprised that the Utah Jazz did not protect them with one of their 8 protected picks. We got lucky. We picked them with our first overall pick in the expansion draft, and I think he's going to be really solid. Second, we have Norman Powell starting at the shooting guard. Very similar to Shelvin Mack, where he actually had a really good season, a breakout year, and he was actually a part of the Toronto Raptors, the team that I was covering last season. So I know a bunch about Norman Powell, and I think he can, honestly, blossom out to be our number 1 option for this team in years to come. In the small forward position, we have Mo Harkless, who actually had a really good year as well in Portland, a team that surprised us all, made it to the playoffs. Mo Harkless played a pretty big part in that, and they did not protect him, even though they gave him a bunch of money. They signed him to a 4-year deal, but they have so many players in that roster, and you can only protect 8, so they had to let him go, and we took advantage of that, and we picked him up. Starting at power 4, we have Darrell Arthur, who over the years has been expanding his range, and now I would consider him a knockdown 3-point shooter at the power 4 position. Honestly, I can see him being our team leader. He's one of the oldest guys on the roster, and he has some NBA experience. At the center position, now this is where things get kind of iffy for us. We have the rookie Skal Labissiere, who's picked up in the second round by the Utah Jazz, or not the Utah Jazz, but Sacramento Kings last year, and they did not protect him. Now, I don't know if that's because they don't believe in him or just because they didn't have enough picks to protect, but really, I was so surprised to see that he was not protected. We took advantage of that, but even our backup center, Willie Hernan-Gomez, is also a rookie. So right now, our center position is not looking that great. Coming off the bench, we have some pretty nice guys. Michael Beasley, former number 2 pick in the NBA draft, just hasn't panned out the way people expected, but he's got a new start, probably like the 3rd or 4th new start he's had, but he's in Vancouver, and hopefully he plays pretty well. Now we have a new guy that I'm sure not a lot of you have heard of. I'm talking about a guy, Tyson Benjamin. Now, we did not select him in the expansion draft. Rather, we signed him from free agency. He went undrafted. Now, this guy is a 6'11", 260 center. Now, in college, he averaged 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks in a really small school. Now, that's part of the reason why he was not drafted. He came from a small university that actually had a really bad record, one of the worst records in their school's history. But 2, he had to sit out his entire senior season because of an ACL tear. Now, before that, he was projected to go in the beginning of the second round, which is still not that great. But when they found out that he was going to sit out the entire season, he dropped off everyone's board because you don't mess with a big guy who's having injuries. But our GM decided to take a chance. It's our first year in franchise history, so why not take a chance on a guy who looked so promising for 3 years straight and had an injury? So we signed him to a 2-year, not a guaranteed 2-year, but a 2-year deal. And I expect him to hit the rotation really early. As I mentioned, our center position is really lacking at this point. So I expect him to hit the rotation very early, and hopefully he can surprise some of us. At least that's what we want. That's what we want. Now, I want to go over our coaching staff. So if you guys did not know, we signed David Blatt to a 2-year deal to be our head coach. Now, you guys know David Blatt is the guy who got fired mid-season after his team was leading the Eastern Conference, or a top team in the Eastern Conference. And it didn't make sense to a lot of people, but the Cavs went on to win a championship, and then they forgot about it. David Blatt was offered his ring. He's got his ring, but now he's back in the NBA and he's coaching. Now, I think one of the main reasons we signed David Blatt rather than any other coach in the market, we had some pretty solid coaches. We had Lionel Hollins out there. We also had Kevin McHale. We had a couple different coaches that wanted to get back to coaching, and they were going to take a chance with Vancouver. Now, the reason we wanted to get David Blatt, but if you think about David Blatt, before LeBron came back to Cleveland, he was signed to Cleveland to help Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson, and Wiggins become the better players. He's more of a development coach. Now, LeBron came to the team. He was immediately looked to win a championship, but really, I don't think that's what he was signed for when he was in Cleveland. And that's one of the reasons he got fired pretty early. He's more of a development coach, and you guys know we have this younger team, and development is going to play a key part. So David Blatt is back with the coaching staff here in Vancouver. Now, our first official game is against the Toronto Raptors. Both of the teams up north going head-to-head. Again, the team that I covered for 2 years before coming over here to Vancouver. And I'm excited for this matchup. Now, we all know the Toronto Raptors are a really good team. They're a really good team. They got 2 All-Stars, and the rest of the team is just really solid. And, of course, our team is not looking that great. So I'm not expecting us to go out there and win this game. But I can tell that this entire city of Vancouver is really excited. We haven't had a team here since the Grizzlies moved down to Memphis. And I can tell you this entire city is really ready for the Mountaineers to take off. Now, before we end this first show, I'm going to give you guys my prediction from this first season. This draft class that we're approaching is kind of stacked. There's a lot of young talent in there. And that's good for us because I'm not expecting us to win over 15 to 20 games. Now, honestly, I think we won't have the worst record in the league. But I'm expecting us to have a pretty bad record. And that's what we want at this point because we want to rebuild from within. We don't want to go out and sign big name players. Rather, we want to build our team based off drafting and making smart trades. So I'm hoping, even though I'm a new fan of this Vancouver franchise, I'm hoping that we lose a bunch of games just so our chances of getting that number 1 pick or number 2 to number 3 pick is really high. So my prediction is about 15 games won this season. So for this first episode, of course, is going to be rather short because we don't have much to talk about just yet. The regular season is starting for us in just 2 days, guys. 2 days we'll be in Toronto playing against the Raptors. So if you have any questions about our franchise that you want me to address here on the show, I want you to comment with the hashtag #TheSummit. The Summit being the name of our show, meaning the very peak. And we are the Mountaineers, right? The very peak of a mountain. So hashtag #TheSummit if you want to be featured on the next episode. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this very first episode of The Summit. I'm your host, Keenan Harris. Thank you guys so much for listening.